You know how stupid scientists talk about you could bend this fabric of space-time and then just simply poke a hole from one side they're already touching. Those parts that you bent are already touching. You don't need a hole. Just walk from one space to another. Truly bent space-time doesn't require a hole. Who the hell thought about this and then said, you know what? Yeah, we'll go with that and whatever. Because the only reason you would need a hole is if there's, for some reason, an area of space that is still between where you're going and where you're ending up. And of course, the bending of space-time could be analogous to. I have in the past talked about it's similar to having a black hole in the fact that if you were to be on one side of the black hole and then you shrink it down and you keep to the edge of the black hole, go on the other side, and then expand it, you have now traversed what is essentially the same difference as space folding. Nonsense. But if you're actually bending space-time, you don't need a hole. The areas of space will simply be attached at some point. So all you'll end up doing is saying this place over here far away is now, for some reason, attached directly to your exit point, or wherever it is you want to depart from. And you absolutely don't need to do anything. And this area of space simply just exists. You just walk through it. There is no other thing to do. It's like if you were to say, I don't know, take a piece of paper and take a step from one inside fold of the paper to the outside fold of the other paper. You don't need to do anything else. There's no. I just don't understand why they decided that they even needed a hole to begin with. It's ridiculous. But this is not science fiction. This is science theory with wormholes and stuff. So the question is, what is the idea behind a stable wormhole? Well, it's the idea that you can, first of all, bend space-time, and second of all, that you can traverse some large distance by some hole that you got going on for some reason. There's a whole lot of, it doesn't make any damn sense. Why is this a theory? Why did this even begin? Because math. Because scientists who are good at visualizing, another word for imagination, ended up thinking about it. Oh, you just fold the two pieces of paper. They're not far away anymore. You realize. Okay, so let's just try and do a couple of things. My fingers are far apart. Squish them together, you suddenly have an area you can traverse directly from one to the other. Do I need a hole between my fingers? Please don't. Or my fingernails or something? No. And they spread out again. So what do you really need in order to do the bending of space-time? You need to attract the distant area of space and pull it towards and literally warping. Like the whole concept could be achieved if you could warp space-time. But also, you would be squishing all of the area around and stuff, or at least the area between. Now here's the best way to do it, right? Take the local area of travel, stretch that area so that you now have a hole that leads directly outward to where you're going. You don't need to bend space-time. You need to stretch a gap, an opening in regular space such that you have a chasm of empty space. In this chasm, you don't need to worry about speed because nothing applies here. All that you need to know is that you need to have some amount of entry speed to start with, and then once you go in, you can't push on anything, ever. So, hope to God you have some other way of, I don't know, having it so that you continue going down this pathway. Because at any point in time, you could and the best way to really do this, unfortunately, is to send some kind of laser beam that starts off as a single point laser beam, but then eventually divides into separate individual beams that will make the intersection no longer accessible by the EM field. Right? You make an electromagnetic straw. You travel in between straw. Now here's the thing. You're not in outer space anymore. So what you can do is you can connect yourself to this straw and glide along it, just like Sonic sliding on some rails. Because each one of these beams would have an electromagnetic field that you can interact with. The only thing is, there's no medium inside this straw, if you can do it in the first place. And I'm talking about real science here. So, local area zipper effect. Because what you would be doing is what they try to think they're doing with the Alcubierre drive, the warping of space, which you can't regularly do like that. But let's say you did. Well, you would take a section of space, stretch it, so that it goes over and around your ship and it looks exactly like a warp bubble. And that makes it so that the point of space that you're traveling through is a very tiny sliver of space. All the rest of space is just folding around you. So here's the question. According to all laws of space bending and folding like that, wouldn't you need some kind of gravity effect similar to a planet in order to have everything else fold around you? And planets clearly don't have things fold around them because they get collided by a bunch of times. Look at the moon. Got a bunch of part marks for every time it was collided with. So even if you have a planet, you're not bending space-time because stuff is still going to hit you in the face. So this is a problem, guys. Your attempt to bend space-time with even gravity-defying whatever nonsense is not going to work. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a way for the actual space to become empty space. And then the only thing that you can do is send a beam towards that outer edge of that electromagnetic ring that you have out in front of you, which is a tube-like structure. It goes on for a fair distance, hopefully as far as you want it to go, So that you can travel faster than light, it has to be of a significant distance, meaning it has to be a structure that is made to be empty space. No longer EM field, no longer anything. Negate everything. Big laser field or energy field of some kind of electromagnetic form. It's not the same as just taking the energy. It's not like the time machine had an energy field around it. This will not work for going through space. You need an energy field that is taking up the entirety of that area of space. And then you travel through that. You would be basically traveling on light. But no, you would be traveling in a space that is void of everything. Once you get a void, you don't have to worry about it. Because there's nothing in front of you, there's nothing to collide with, there's no reason to worry about friction, it's just your momentum. Good luck with that. I have nothing else to tell you, but you don't, in order to make a, we started this with warp field theory. No, we started this with a stupid wormhole. You don't need. Wormholes are two different types of phenomenon. You either have the hyperspeed tube, which you can't just find in nature, it won't happen, right? You have the black hole that you shrink down and then you get on the other side and you expand it again, keeping away from it, and then you're on the other side of a very basic distance. You could have just orbited a planet and you would have gone just as far. Unless it's the size of, like, even the size of the center of our galaxy's black hole is not helpful for you when you're going across interstellar space. It's just tiny compared to interstellar space. Like, the amount of light years across for the entire galaxy compared to the amount of light years between galaxies and the next ones are incredible. So, yeah, it's kind of pointless. So, yeah, if the Alcubierre drive did work, it's pretty much your only chance of going faster than light. Unfortunately, you would have to have some kind of tunnel. You'd have to have some kind of way of regular space. And even if you can bend it, it doesn't, you're still just essentially passing, you're still physically going to keep your same dimensions. But if the area of space goes around you, if it's fair enough distance, you might be able, and again, the warp field can't be very tight. It has to be far reaching, or the amount of deflection for your warp field isn't going to cut it. Static objects like asteroids or pebbles or whatever, photons, are just going to go through your warp field, hit you, and blow you up the moment you try to go faster than light or something. You'll get a bunch of dots first, so it'll be like tick, 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 and then just you'll hit something and it'll be boom. And it's not good. The function of the Alcubierre drive, again, is based off of the idea of warping space-time. Warping space-time is based off of time dilation. Time dilation doesn't exist! Time dilation does not exist. At all. It was disproven in the 70s. The atomic clocks were simply going at a different rate forward around the Earth than they were backwards around the Earth, or I should say with the rotation of the Earth and against it, analogous to moving forward and backward on a train, so that you end up with your motion and the train's motion adding together. Your distance is more, even though you exerted yourself only enough to go forward this much. In a train going 45 kilometers an hour, I can move forward on the train. But I'm only putting in the effort it takes to move forward. But my distance is then increased. So if I can go 5 kilometers an hour on a train that's going 45, my total distance would have been calculated as me going 50. Same as on the planet. The rate of the orbit of the planet is a certain rate, and then you have the speed of the planes back in the 70s test, and one went with the rotation of the Earth, so it was added to its speed, making every tick take a little bit longer, so that the clock went backward a little bit. And then when they went the other way, every tick was shorter because it took less distance to do the light bouncing, and it was faster, so more time was on the clock. And they misunderstood. They didn't estimate correctly the amount of time displacement. That's because you're not thinking about the distance over time correctly. The only way that time dilation would be a thing is if after you compensate for your total distance over time, which is the speed of the plane plus the speed of the Earth rotation, so you think of it as the total amount of distance throughout the solar system. That distance is what we consider light, that when we consider how light would move, because light moves independent of all of you traveling speeds. Too many people misquote the science thing, saying that in any reference frame, light will be measured as going at the speed of c. That is, compared to your speed, light, compared to blank, compared to whatever, light is still going at its regular speed. Unlike any other reference frame where you add them together, light is consistent. Right? You don't say you would go, if you're moving at the speed of light, the light that is moving adjacent to you is still going at the same rate everyone else sees it going. The light in your ship would still be going at the same rate as everyone else would see it going. There is no time dilation there. The faster you go, the faster it's able to keep up with you. Or, once you go faster than the speed of light, it can't keep up with you. So the idea of a mirror with this is that no, light would just simply not reach the mirror because it can't go fast enough to get to the mirror in those scenarios. I'm off tangent, I don't care. So the whole idea is back to wormholes and bending space, and you don't even need to think about it. I immediately was like, okay, I've made my point, and I'm talking about 5 other different things I think people are wrong about. I'm not even going to get into electrons, which you're wrong about. The speed of the electron is, well, I could get into it. The speed of the electron is why it looks like a blur. It's going around a quadrillion times a second. Do the math. That looks blurry. So your probability of seeing it becomes more accurate the faster your lens can per second. I've seen a 2 billion per second camera that can watch light as it progresses through space in someone's garage. That was awesome. It used an oscilloscope. It was brilliant. It's still not good enough to see the. I mean, it's almost good enough to see electrons going around an atom. But you realize the difference between quadrillion and billion is million? Because it's two sets of zeros. There are two sets of triple zeros in the million. It's a million billion, which is weird. Math people are weird. Really, they should call million billion, and the thousands place should not exist. Thousands is million, according to proper scientific, if you were to think of it that way, notation. Like, it's always this plus the thousands place. And it's like, then you think of, okay, what's 4 plus 4? It's like, well, that's 9. Or that's really 5 places, so it's 10 total places. So it would be 9. Because again, once you get there, the 1 in the 10th set of zeros is 9. It's labeled 9. And then you add the thousandth place, you get 10. So that's why 4 plus 4 is 9. Some people thinking about this aren't going to really, they're not going to get that. Like a million plus a billion is, or a million times a billion, I corrected myself, is not a trillion. A trillion is 1,000 billion. I just said that. It's a quadrillion. Whatever. Scientific notation, my anus. It's so silly. It gets really bad when you have to like add the number of zeros or think of the number of zeros, and you always got to remember the thousands place exists there. So you start off with, okay, so quadrillion is 4 sets plus the trillion, so that's 5, then plus 5, it actually ends up being 9. 9 million or whatever, instead of deca, whatever. It's like a whole 1,000 fold of the maths. Recently, I looked and I asked, what is a certain number times translated from per second to per hour, and it said it was a number with 17 zeros. Huh? You realize 60 seconds per minute, 60 minutes per hour, so 60 times 60 is 360. So you simply say whatever it is per hour, you times it by 360 or divide it by 360 if it's whatever per second. And I'm like, how did you get to 17? Freaking AI. It's like, really? And then you get the whole um, 1,000 kilometers per second or whatever, which is the same as saying Well, what they said was 70,000, 70 kilometers per second? So 70, sorry, 70 times 60 times 60. That's how many kilometers, so times 1,000. So it's near the speed of light is how fast our own galaxy is going. You're already a light speed being. Light speed is just 289. This is 252 meters per second, which is stupid. How are we going a fraction of the speed of light as a galaxy? This is nearby calculations. I'm very confused. Like you say, we can't accelerate objects to light speed, but if the galaxy itself is already going near light speed, how much harder can it be to go accelerate something to beyond light speed? All you have to do is shove it on a planet, make that planet experience the explosive force of a supernova, and then you just ride that wave out into outer space as fast as you want to go. And you're probably even going to still hold together. Like, genuinely, what the hell is holding this galaxy together? And if we're moving at, like, for comparison, an electron is moving at it's moving at 2.2 million meters per second. This is 252. 150 times, 125 times faster than the speed of an electron is how fast you are just going according to something. What the fuck is happening? Something falling over here? Weird. Anyway, it's like, oh, you need just tons of power. It's just unfathomable power. Or you just gotta explode something big, and then boom, you got it. Explode a star. You're good. You'll get to the next star. The only thing is you have to have a star and explode it. Not exactly the safest thing to do, and not exactly something you want to just ride on. The integrity field might still fail, and whatever. But yeah, stop thinking about wormholes. They are ridiculous. They are pointless. If you're going to bend space, you're going to bend space. You don't need a wormhole. If you're going to make a wormhole, you need an empty area of space, and then you actually can travel as fast as you freaking want. And you might end up making a gravity force based off your ship just simply moving fast through space. So you're going to be affecting the gravity of everything else by simply moving that fast through any amount of space. Meaning, if you're on the edge of our galaxy, initialize your drive, whatever system the thing is, point the thing through the empty space, open the empty space, and then travel through that, you'll you'll be able to go literally whatever speed you want, but you might end up pulling our galaxy along with you a little bit, like a nudge. Not the worst thing that could happen, but do that a couple 100,000 times, our galaxy might fall apart. Just saying.